Okay, so we will continue with Act 1, Scene 2. From where we had left, we saw that after seeing the tempest, Miranda is distressed and she asks Prospero to stop this, on which Prospero says that whatever he has done for her, and in this act no one is hurt, in the shipwreck. And then Prospero asks Miranda to pay attention, as he's going to tell the past of Miranda when she was a princess in a place called Milan. So we will continue from here while Prospero is telling Miranda about their past. So Prospero: thy mother was a piece of virtue, means your mother had very high moral values, and she said thou wast my daughter, and she told me that you are my daughter, that is, I am your father, and thy father, means and your father, was Duke of Milan, and his only heir and princess, no verse issued. So what Prospero is saying is that your mother was a woman of high moral value, and she told me that you are my daughter and I am your father. Was the Duke of Milan, means I was the Duke of Milan, and his only heir, means my only heir and princess. So you were my only heir and princess, no verse issued, means of no lesser noble birth than any other princess. So you were of no lesser birth as compared to any other princess. Miranda: O heavens, what foul play had we that we came from thence, means she's asking, oh my God, what foul play had we, means what foul play, means evil things were done to us, that we came, put an arrow and write down here, from there, means what evil things happened that we had to move from Naples to this island. Or blessed wasn't we did, means or was it a blessing that we have come here. Prospero: both my girl, means it was indeed a curse or evil thing as well as a blessing. By foul play, as thou sayest. So foul play here refers to the evil things which Miranda had said. So Prospero says, by foul play, as thou sayest, as you say it, were we heaved thence, means were we heaved here means to be removed, to be carried away, to be pushed out of and the place here refers to Milan. So he says, yes, it was an evil act by which we were thrown out of Milan, but blessedly holp hither, means and it was a blessing that we were helped to reach this. We continue. Miranda: oh, my heart bleeds to think of the teen. So she says, my heart is very sad. Here bleeds refers to being sad. Is to think over the teen that I have turned you so, means teen here refers to the suffering, over the suffering. So my heart bleeds when I think over the sufferings that I have turned you to, that I have brought to you. Because remember, Miranda was just 3 years old at that time, and it was Prospero who was taking care of Miranda. So Miranda says, I really feel bad thinking about the pain that I had brought to you at that moment, which is from my remembrance. Means that's what I think I can remember. Please you further. The Miranda says, please continue with your story. Prospero. My brother and thy uncle, called Antonio, I pray thee, mark me. So he says, while he was continuing with the story, he says, I pray you, please listen to me carefully. Please take a note of what I am saying. So he continues, my brother and thy uncle Antonio, called Antonio, that a brother should be so perfidious. Perfidious means disloyal. So he says, my brother Antonio was very disloyal. On the contrary, brothers are all very loyal to each other. He whom next thyself of all the world I loved, means he means Antonio, whom and next thyself means apart from you, of all the world I love, means I loved him more than anyone else on this world, and to him put the manage of my state, means and I trusted him to run my state. So he says, I used to love him so much that I trusted him and asked him to manage my state. As at that time, through all signories, it was the first, means at that time when I asked him to take over or look after my dukedom, at that time, through all the signories, means through all the significant supreme powers, Milan was the first. It was the first. And Prospero, the prime duke, and Prospero was supposed to be the prime duke at that time. Being so reputed means being so much known in dignity. So I was known for dignity, that is nobility and conduct. Prospero was known for his nobility and conduct, and for the liberal arts, and for his education. For example, grammar, geometry, logic, etc. So this place, Milan, was number one as compared to the other places, and Prospero was supposed to be the best duke, the prime duke, who was known for his nobility and conduct and his knowledge of liberal arts. So without a parallel, those being all my study. So there was no parallel as compared to me as well as Milan, as compared to all the other states nearby. So those being all my study. The government I cast upon my brother. So I was so busy in my studies that the responsibility to take care of my state, I cast means I gave upon my brother. Now what is the name of the brother? Antonio. And to my state grew stranger, and I got busy in my studies, thereby I became a stranger towards my state, that is Milan. Being transported and wrapped in secret studies. So I was totally engrossed towards my studies and wrapped in secret studies. Now, wrapped means fully absorbed, and secret studies means the studies of magic, that is occult, magical art. So he was more concentrating in his study of magic as compared to taking care of his government or Milan. Thy false uncle. False here does not mean that he was not his uncle. It means the disloyal, wicked uncle. Dost thou attend me? Means, are you paying attention to me? So the last line is addressed to Miranda. Miranda, sir, most heedfully, means I am attentively listening to you. Prospero. Being once perfected how to grant suits. So, as Antonio started looking after the state, and he perfected the art to grant suits, means to grant requests. How to deny them, how to deny requests or to grant them. Who to advance means which person is to be brought forward or promoted, and who to trash for overtopping, and whom to keep down because the person was too ambitious. New created the creatures that were mine. So he created the creatures, means the people who were mine, who were on Prospero's side. He tried to change them. I say, or change them, means he would say either you come to my side, or he would get them replaced and add somebody else in their place. Or else new formed them, or else he made new people in their places, having both the key of office and of officer and office, set all hearts. So he says, since he had control over the kingdom and everyone in it, so he would do anything he wanted. I, the state, to what tune pleased his ear. So he would change the state to whatever pleased him. That now he was, that means so that, now he was the ivy which had hid my princely trunk and sucked my verdure out on it. Thou attendest not, means you are not paying attention. Now regarding this, the last paragraph from line 100 onwards, he's saying that Antonio became like the ivy. He became like the ivy that sticks to the side of a tree. Here tree is referred to as Prospero, and sucked my strength. So Antonio behaved like the ivy which grows on a plant and sucks from the plant its own food. So here the ivy is Antonio and the tree is Prospero. Thou attendest not. So Prospero says, Miranda, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. Miranda, oh good sir, I do. So she says, yes sir, I am paying attention to what you are saying. Prospero, I pray thee, mark you, I request you, pay attention, take a note. I thus neglecting worldly ends, means I was so busy in my books and my study of magic, started neglecting worldly ends, means practical matters. I started neglecting practical matters. I started neglecting my state because I was under the impression that it is being looked after by my brother Antonio. All dedicated to closeness. Closeness here is referred to solitude, being with himself, keeping himself closed from others, and bettering of my mind. Bettering here means improving my mind. So I started to remain in solitude, trying to better my mind. With that which means which still. Now here that refers to studies. With that which, but by being so retired, overprized all popular rate. Now write down the meaning of this line. With subjects more valuable than most people can ever imagine. in my false brother awakened an evil nature. So, when my brother saw that I am not looking after the state, an evil nature awakened in my brother. And my trust, like a good parent, did beget of him. Did beget of him. Beget here means to produce. A falsehood in its contrary as great as my trust was, which was indeed no limit. You may write down the meaning here. Arousing in him a treachery as big as my trust was. So, because of my trust and the power that he had over this territory, it gave rise to a treacherous plan in Prospero, which was in magnitude equivalent to the amount of love that Prospero had for Antonio. A confidence sans bound. So I had a confidence in him which was infinite, he being thus lauded. So this is how he became lauded, means to become one of the lords. Not only with what my revenues yielded, but what my power might else extract. So he wants to say he was now enriched with the wealth which my sources of income brought in, but also with whatever he could forcibly demand by his authority, which he had derived from me. Like one who, having into truth by telling of it, made such a sinner of his memory to credit his own lie, he did believe he was indeed the Duke out of the substitution. So here Prospero says that Antonio began to think or believe that he was the Duke. Like a man who falsifies his memories of the truth and who begins to believe his own lie after telling it repeatedly. He was indeed the Duke out of the substitution. So he was indeed the Duke, he was acting as a Duke, but it was out of substitution, and executing the outward face of royalty. And he was executing means carrying out the outward face of royalty, means he was actually not the Duke, but he was acting as a Duke of, with all prerogative, means he had all the rights. Hence his ambition growing, hence he felt he can become the Duke of Milan. He became ambitious. Dost thou hear? So Prospero, after continuing, he stops and says, are you hearing? Dost thou hear, Miranda? Your tale, sir, would cure deafness. What does Miranda means to say by saying this? She says even a deaf person will be compelled to hear that your story is such. So Prospero continues. He says to have no screen between this part he played and him he played it for, means to have no screen, no differences between the part played by Antonio and the part he played it for. So for whom was he playing this part? For Prospero. So to remove any difference between these two people, he needs will be absolute Milan. So he needed absolute control over Milan. That is, he would like to become the Duke of Milan, to remove the difference between him and Prospero. Me, a poor man, my library was my dukedom. So for me, I was a poor man. My library was the dukedom. Dukedom means the office or the role of a duke. Large enough of temporal royalties. Temporal here refers to worldly, and royalties means rights and duties. So he says, I am a poor man, my library was my only dukedom. It was large enough for my worldly duties. He thinks me not incapable. So Prospero and Antonio started to think that Prospero is incapable of taking care of Milan. Prospero continues, confederates. So dry he was for sway, means he is so dry, he was full of desire for power. Now here dry means to be thirsty. He was thirsty for power. He worked with the king of Naples. So Antonio took the help of the king of Naples to give him annual tribute. So give him some money as annual tribute. Do him homage. Homage here means to give respect to the king of Naples. So we move on. Subject his coronet to his crown. So this line means make him superior and himself inferior in front of the king of Naples, and bend the dukedom yet unbowed, and hence bending the dukedom down, bringing the dukedom of Milan down, which till now had never bowed in front of anyone else. Alas, poor Milan, to most ignoble stooping. To most ignoble stooping means to put the dukedom of Milan subordinate to anyone before, under the humiliating control of Naples. To this, Miranda responds, oh, the heavens. So she is surprised. She is not happy. She is actually taken aback. Prospero, mark his condition, means in respect to the king of Naples. So mark Antonio's condition in respect to the king of Naples, from whom he is becoming a subordinate, paying an annual tribute, is being paying homage to the king of Naples. So why is he doing this? Mark his condition and the event. The event here is what settlement does they have amongst themselves. Themselves here means king of Naples as well as Antonio, which can be a pact. Then tell me if this might be a brother. So he says, just try to understand why is Antonio doing all these things for the king of Naples. So what is the pact? What is the condition? And then Prospero says, in this line he wants to say actually, once you understand the condition and the events, why Antonio is agreeing to all these things for the king of Naples, then think over it whether he is fit enough to be a brother. Basically, Prospero wants to say that Antonio is in a pact with the king of Naples, and that is the reason. The pact is that King of Naples will help Antonio to remove Prospero as a duke, and in return Antonio is going to pay him nobility, give him an annual tribute, and the other things that were mentioned. Miranda: I should sin to think but nobly of my grandmother. Good wombs have born bad sons. Now see, here Miranda says, it is bad for me to think of my grandmother other than good. So she is talking about her grandmother here because in one hand she sees Prospero, who is a good person, a good father, a good duke. On the other hand, she sees Antonio, who is not good in any sense. So she is saying, I would look at my grandmother as a noble person. So, and she continues, good mothers could bring forth bad sons. So she says, even good mothers give birth to bad sons. She is referring here to Antonio. Okay, we'll stop here for today. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you so much.